Everyone, this is Gabriel. So this is the top-down analysis for the next week. Let's start with the euro dollar. So the euro dollar is really pressing lower and is trying to get out of this sideways range of the weekly. You can see here we've got a little pullback. It finds support on the overall downtrend. It finds support at the 8 moving average. So it's a sign of weakness for the bulls that it doesn't even that the pullback doesn't even is strong enough to reach the 8 or the big number 113, which was an important support area in the past. So it looks like the euro dollar is pressing lower. We are currently here in a sideways range. This might actually develop into an S1 type of pattern. Or if this is the pattern in TC1, we are not in a downtrend because it made a new high. So that would be an S1 type of pattern. On the 60, I can see how the pressure is building for going lower. We actually find support here as well from the 200. It has been tested 5 times. It seems like it wants to actually break the prior low and move lower. So I think once this line gets broken, well, the next immediate resistance is the 120. So whenever the 120 gets broken lower, I think we might actually see a bigger move coming up in the euro dollar, leaving this weekly sideways range. So that's an important low, and I'll mark that down, and I will actually I'll monitor that over the next week. So not much going on here on the euro Swiss after this very strong volatile down move that was breaking the prior low. Well, that's a sign of strength for the bears. We get a pullback. It's a very shallow pullback into the 8 and the prior price resistance. And we might actually form, or we are about to form possibly an S1 pattern here on the 240. So the TC1 is in a downtrend, and TC2 is in a downtrend too, with a lot of room to go. TC3 is in an early downtrend, right? First zigzag after this making high highs, but there's a lot of room to go, and I've pointed that out several times in the past. So there's a lot of room to go towards the par level. So the euro Swiss has a lot of room to go, and if this, well, I'm marking this down, the euro Swiss 240 S1 pattern. If this is something that's actually materializing, that would be a great swing trade idea. But we need to go a little bit further back, or let the 21 catch up with current price to make this a tradable S1. But that's possible. But the Australian dollar against the euro keeps to remain weak. We're still in this very tight and already very long now sideways range. So this is still an important low that has not been broken. It might break though during the next 1 or 2 weeks. Like we are already now in coma, right? Even in coma of all 4 moving averages. So that's a pretty good sign, and price is kind of squeezed within this horizontal resistance and the moving average the 8. As you might remember on the weekly, well, there's a lot of room to go. The same thing remains here. After this rejection, huge rejection bar, we might actually see a counter trend testing, and there's nothing in the way. There's a long room to go towards the 1.4 big number. So this has a lot of potential too. So that's Australian dollar weakness. That's what we're seeing in other Australian dollar cross pairs as well. And here the important level is this one. And I'm putting that on my stalking list as well to see if there's going to be a break of this level. Let's have a quick look over the yen pairs here. The main yen pair is the US yen, obviously. So we have not achieved here to break this important resistance level 110 to test the pre low. What we have, we have got a strong pullback, and prices have even been able to close above the 200 moving average. And this leads me to think, well, that we might get a two leg pullback. So this is one leg, and then there's a pullback, and there's another leg due of similar size and extension. So this might go much higher. On the weekly chart, this would actually mean testing the prior highs. And let's just draw this in. So this could actually happen, and we see well, US dollar strength against yen weakness. So what needs to happen now during the next 1 or 2 weeks is either that this is the last test, so we might get a triple top before it actually then tests the prior lows. So either we get something like this pretty early on, or this might develop into a two-leg pullback. We actually have both scenarios, which look pretty good. And yeah, well, what I like here, what more speaks for the second scenario is this very strong and smooth uptrend on the 240. I know there were a good couple of opportunities in lower time frames. So this yeah, so this might tell that the bulls are in control. They've been able to close a couple of daily bars above the 200. We'll have to see if this is going to continue, or whether we see a sharp break of this strong and smooth uptrend. So the yen crosses are kind of in the middle, undecisive for a move higher or lower here, for example, against the Canadian dollar. It looks well, it looks pretty much bearish. We have seen this strong down move, couple of well, good-sized red bars. Now we get a pullback. The pullback didn't break the prior lower high, so that looks pretty bearish. Let's have a look at the New Zealand yen. Same thing. It looks very bearish. It's kind of rolling over here, and yeah, that's and we've got two stop run levels. And the 240 sitting now on 200. So this looks bearish, and let's just quickly go through the next step. Pound yen. Well, pound is a special case because of the Brexit talks. Well, let's just ignore this. Well, the Swiss is showing strength against all other currency pairs except the US dollar. It's kind of in balance against the US dollar, and here against the CAD Swiss. That's a clearly bearish chart. We saw this swift move lower, now a pullback into a cluster area of the prior support and resistance, the big number, the 200, and the EMAS. So it's a very nice place to pull back and to find resistance in order to resume the overall downtrend. Overall, there's a lot of potential to go as well here for the Swiss franc, and yeah, we have got a nice sideways range here actually on the 240, and yeah, if this breaks, we might actually see some momentum. So, well, a continuation of the purely daily and weekly downtrend. We might actually see this develop if we get a close below this line in the 240. Let's have a look at the Australian dollar and New Zealand. The Kiwi, it's always interesting because both forex pairs are kind of weak, whereas the Australian dollar has been the weakest of both. We can see that even over the last couple of years. Just recently, like during this last week or 10 days, actually the Australian dollar has become stronger. So what we didn't get here is this expected quick down move. Like all the probability was that this is going to happen. We've been in a nice and steady downtrend. Well, if something cannot go lower against all probability, well, it's often we get a strong counter trend direction. So if something cannot go lower, well, it goes higher, and that's what we see here. That's kind of like I see this as a counter trend rally. That's a one leg move within this overall weekly or even the daily downtrend. So a counter trend rally is characterized by a quick quick and strong yeah, move with momentum. It is actually breaking the prior lower highs, and that's what it did here. It broke this high, it broke this high. That's a counter trend move. It's kind of a stop run rally against trend overall trend direction. And usually it's only short lived because here we're pushing, or it pushes against a lot of resistance, the other lower highs. And it's pushing as well against the moving averages on the higher time frames. So here it's pushing against the 8, and here on one time frame higher it's pushing against the 21. So the higher it goes, the more resistance it finds. If it's going even higher, well, people find resistance from the 200 and from the 50, etc. So this is a very strong smooth uptrend. I don't trust in it. I mean, it can always be traded on the lower time frame, like on a 5 or 50-minute chart, because it's clearly uptrending. But I don't see like a medium and long term from on a daily, weekly, and monthly perspective for this to be a sustained up move. What it needs to do, it needs to make a higher low and then a higher high. So the first zigzag for this to be identified as an early uptrend. So far, it's only a one leg move. Which I don't trust. So this is the Euro Singapore dollar chart. It's showing a lot of strength of the Singapore dollar against the euro. Very strong, smooth downtrend. I'm pretty sure that the daily is in green light mode. While there are some nice pullbacks into the moving average band with a clear small trend bar, very nice opportunities. Well, that's a daily chart. And just while I'm expecting this to continue, the trend continues. There's nothing in the way to stop the trend till these levels here. So it might be the 150, 105 big number, or the prior low. So these act as a magnet now, and the daily, the Euro Sing daily can be traded most certainly based on an S3 on the daily chart. I don't do, but if you're more, if you would like to take experience in this, so that would be an opportunity to do so. I don't know if we had a look over the euro pound, because there's this Brexit talk or Brexit fight of the British government against the Brussels Commission, if you so want. So it's kind of reflected here in the chart. You can see it on the 240, like for the last the last 3 weeks. We see a lot of up moves, down moves, a lot of spikes, and there's now no decision here on the daily chart. So well, we have found strength on the weekly. This pound strength, yeah, it's kind of interesting. We'll see what comes out if there's going to be an agreement on Brexit, like no deal or extension or whatever. Then we might see a pound strength to continue. That would be an overall trend direction. Well, currently we are stuck within the sideways range. Just let's mark that. So this is what we are stuck in currently. I'm aware that next week, I think it's Thursday the 12th of April, that might be the date for a no-deal Brexit. So we might see good moves developing next, like mid or end of next week, in with the British pound against the euro and other cross pairs. Right, so let's come to the cryptocurrency market, because we've seen some nice a couple of days with big up moves. Or we had what was basically this day, and the next day is a rejection bar here on the daily. And since then, well, it looks pretty strong. The price development. We don't get a big pullback. We neither get a sideways consolidation. We see small bars that are closing higher, one after the other. So just remember that the cryptocurrency market is a 7-day, 24-hour market, so it never stops. So you get data feed like throughout the weekend. So this is how it looks on the 240. We saw this up spike and down spike, and it found a double bottom. And since then, the 240 is actually finding support. on the 8. So that's a pretty strong sign. I'm thinking about that this might actually continue this up move, and this might only be the start of a prolonged up move, and well, towards the a move towards the 6,000. You might remember we had this long stretched sideways consolidation for a long time. Well, this is kind of a busted pattern. Well, not a typical one because we've crossed well below the 8. But still, if price has the power to actually close above the line, this would be a very strong bullish signal. So what we see here is maybe the first move of price is actually trying to break this level, to re-break the $6,000 line here on the weekly. While on the other hand, there's another busted pattern on the daily. So whenever this gets reversed and we see a close below this red line, so that's a close below 4,200, a daily bar close, then I would actually be pretty bearish again, and I would only see this as a pullback within the overall downtrend. But it doesn't look like this is going to come back soon, or even re-break. So I'm getting more I'm getting more bullish now for maybe seeing a second leg and higher. So a second leg, where would this bring us to? Well, it would bring us slightly above the 6,000 6,000. It should bring us slightly above the 6,000 level. So if we get a second leg up, measured move of same extent, we might actually re-break the weekly and actually trigger kind of a weekly busted pattern. Let's have a look at the lower time frames. It's a 50 and 60 to 40 and daily. We actually see here we actually see an S1, a busted pattern forming on the 15-minute chart. That's already triggered. We are the TC1 is in sideways, so it's always a bit risky. But if it works out, then there's a big stop on level. If this works out with TC1 in sideways, we might actually see a huge move coming out of this busted pattern on the 15. So TC2 is trending, and we touch the 8. Obviously, we are well overextended on the daily, but cryptocurrencies, once they start to run, they might run a long time, and overextension is not such a big issue. Well, let's quickly look at the other other pairs. So it's basically the same for the other macro coins. It's another busted pattern that has triggered, looks very similar. TC1 in sideways, and and we even have a touch of the 21 here in TC2. We've got a good number of stop run levels here on the daily. So this might go much this might even outperform Bitcoin if we actually see higher prices. Let's go to another macro cap, Litecoin. Well, S1 pattern here in overall sideways. Same thing. Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash, we see a busted pattern too, and it's a very slim, a very nice consolidation on a high level. So we don't get a deep pullback. So this is very bullish. We're currently sitting on 8. We'll have to see whether it's whether we drop to the 21. If price actually has the power to cross this yellow line, then I would rather think that we get a second leg higher. Let's have a look at Ripple, because Ripple was not didn't develop that well. It was lagging behind the other macro caps. So we've got a similar, we've got an S1 developing here, and there's a lot of room to go for Ripple because it didn't do so far. So this is it. So on the lower time frames, on the 50-minute chart, possibly have a couple of S1s to trigger. That is breaking that's bringing us out of the sideways action of the 60, and possibly, despite overextension on the daily, produce a second leg higher. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. That looks pretty encouraging. What we see on the 60-minute charts, and let's see if the party continues to go on either over the weekend or for the next week. Thank you.